Because you're gonna drop that into the car. If we got to make that back.
I still think there's a couple of people coming through, so just give it one more minute and then we'll start, shall we? Alessandro, are you there? Would you mind just forwarding the invite to John Henry? He seems to have a problem. Thank you. Okay, well, it's a couple of minutes past 10, so I think we'll make a start. Thank you everybody for joining today. My name's Kate McKnight and I'm the country manager for UK and Ireland. Just want to check that you can all see my screen. You should have the Myrtha Pools logo and the list of people that are presenting for you today. I'd like to start by thanking you all for taking the time to join this presentation and hope that you'll be able to take something away from it of gained knowledge of our refurbishment technology that'll be useful to you or that you'll be able to share with your colleagues. I'd like to start by introducing the team today. Roberto Coletto is our Chief Executive who will be introducing himself and addressing you shortly. Alexander Forche, Export Manager for UK, Australia and New Zealand, and Greg Clark, who is our Australian Technical Manager, who will be taking you through the majority of the presentation today. Dennis Freeman-Wright is our guest, who will be posing some questions from our previous webinar. For those of you who came to the first presentation, there will be a little repetition. However, the aim of this presentation is to cover off far more the technical information, which will answer the questions that were raised from the previous time. We've included questions that will be sent out that have been sent out as pre-questions into this presentation, so those can be addressed. However, if you have a specific question, then please add it into the chat, and depending on the time we have at the end for these, we will answer them or we will circulate them in a Q&A brochure that will be published with diagrams and full explanations. This webinar will be recorded, so you'll be able to play it again should you wish from our YouTube channel. And if I could ask you all before we start just to go on to mute so that we don't have background information pulling through. So I'd like to start by introducing then Roberto, over to you.
Hey Kate, hi. So good morning everybody, and well, I'm happy you accepted our invitation, but I'm particularly happy that we have another session this morning on refurbishment, because we are great believers in the great potential of refurbishment, and I'm sure that in UK, like in all other European countries, there's a lot of old facilities or very old facilities, sometimes in the city centers. They need major renovation, but at the same time, they cannot be closed down for too long. So this is where a good, smart solution for refurbishment that can actually provide a completely new facility, but trying to limit the demolishment of the existing one. And this is exactly what we will try to take you through this morning. We all know that also refurbishment is much more difficult than new construction, because when you assess the first technical assessment of a facility that needs refurbishment is not easy, and then you have a lot of constraints, you have limitations, budget limitations. So certainly technically more challenging, and again, it makes it also more interesting in one way. But before we go a bit deeper into this, if you don't mind, I would like to take a few minutes, and I will take control of the presentation. A few minutes, just Alessandro asked me to introduce also. Can you see my presentation on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So just to introduce quickly who we are for those who have not, who don't know Myrtha Pools yet, and I'm happy to do it, of course. So our company has been created by my father in '61. So we are celebrating this year actually 60 years of activity. And we are, I would say today, we are a multinational company that has a presence in about 70 countries, and with 7 direct subsidiaries and many, I would say, hundreds of distributors. So we have a good presence. We manufacture a bit more than 1,500 pools a year. And with 300 of them being commercial projects, we are, I would say for sure, the largest commercial pool builders in the world. We are mostly well known for our activity in the world of competitive swimming, because we've been partnering with FINA, the International Federation, since many years, but with many others, and we are very close to the world of swimming. In fact, we built most of the facilities for the last, I would say, international championships in the last at least 15, 20 years. In this, I'm particularly proud and happy to share with you today. We've just been awarded also the facilities for Paris 2024. It's always a big achievement for us. It's our 6th Olympics, but as we all know, all pools are important, but pools for Olympics many times are seen as the Oscar of the swimming pools. So I would say very, very happy with that. But we don't do only competition pools. We do a lot of high-rise as well, especially for hospitality. We do a lot of leisure work and also other niches like hydrotherapy, like thermal and so on. So what we do as a company, we've always been focusing very much on the technical design and development of the pools. That means we like to see ourselves as your partner in supporting you in all the technical developments of the project, a process that today is based on 3D modeling, for sure, Revit. We have full beam capacity, so it's a process that is becoming more and more complex, but always more and more important. So we'll be happy to support you in any need in this direction. To build our pools and all our pools, we use our proprietary technology, that is Myrtha technology, and it's based on these modular elements that are, it's a self-standing modular technology that is based on these stainless steel components that we hot laminate with a very hard PVC to have a very resistant bonding, so providing very long lasting and also flexibility of adaptation to the project. But getting closer to the topics of today, since many years our company has also been developing specific solutions for the refurbishment, for the renovation of existing pool tanks. And particularly what you see here is the technology that we have named many years ago Renovation, and that's let's say a technology that is based on similar modular elements than the Myrtha technology, but of course applied to the existing concrete shell. Again, as I was saying before, with the aim to rebuild a new structural integrity in stainless steel into the existing shell, and of course a new safe layer of waterproofing. This technology also allows us to have very precise regulation and to respect all the FINA tolerances if it's, for example, a competition pool. But more recently, we have combined this solution with further developments. This is, for example, what I'm showing, a recent innovation that we've called Skin, and it's a thinner alternative to the renovation panels, and it's a solution that we can apply both to the floor and the walls of the pool. We combine with different type of gutter design, and this is, for example, a more cost-effective approach. Depending on the needs and the budget of the project, we can adapt and use different solutions. And also combining different technologies, we can achieve also, like what you see here, it's very typical. It's an old 50 meter that during the renovation is remodeled into different areas or different separated bodies of water. So the flexibility, also in terms of shape, size, it's complete. So again, we see a very good potential of application in practically any type of project. So resuming, our DNA is, like you see in this slide, water, but we see the water, the development in the sense on the two families. One is the new construction, the other is renovation. And as you understand from this focus, we believe this is potentially a big part of our business and interest also in the future years. Before I close this presentation, I'd like to also take the chance. We just built a new showroom facility, let's say, in our company, and we have another one in Milan. Actually, this is where I'm presenting from the offices in Milan. So I would really like to take this chance to extend to you our warmest invitation to come and see us as soon as the pandemic will allow. But if you can spend 1 or 2 days with us, I'm sure we can go much deeper in all this discussion, and it will be a pleasure. So now I'm handing over to Alessandro, that is our manager in charge of UK. Thanks again for the attention.
Thank you very much, Roberto. Thank you very much for the welcome. My name is Alessandro, and I'm the expert manager in charge of UK, Australia, and New Zealand. And I'm very happy you accepted this invite for showing you the renovation, because the goal of our webinar is really to show you our technology, in the sense that it's strange that in a niche market as this industry, we are most known for installing temporary pools or new pools, and not many stakeholders in the markets know that there is this technology. And as you say in the English language, which is a nice expression, every cloud has its silver lining. And I think that the virus, in a certain sense, will change the market, and especially because there will be a lot of councils or universities or schools which can't or will not afford to have a new pool. Therefore, refurbishment will be a key word in the next few years, not only in England, but I would say in Europe and outside Europe. For this reason, I insisted very much in organizing these webinars, and I insisted very much to have here as a special guest Greg Clark, because Greg has a wealth of experience of many years of installing new pools, and has worked on over 20 renovation projects using renovation technology. And above all, I'm very also happy to reveal a part of his life, probably he doesn't like, because before joining Myrtha, Greg was a facility director for a big university, and this is how he got in contact with Myrtha. So he was dealing daily problems with the training facilities included a swimming pool. And this is how we got to know probably 15 or 16 years old. So I said, well, I think not only for this, but also because in Australia and New Zealand, it looked after about more than 20 refurbishment projects. And I'm really saying big projects, not just small swimming pools. So he's probably the best person to share his experience and to talk about the renovation technology. So I'm very happy to introduce Greg.
Then to bedroom number 3. So you're having to go to bedroom 2 to get to bedroom 3, which is a decent size, I've got to say.
Sorry, Alessandro, I lost my sound there for a moment. Can you all hear me now?
Yep.
So just a few corrections. I actually was with the Western Australian Sports Centre Trust prior to being with Myrtha Pools, and we actually operated all of the state government facilities in Western Australia. And within those facilities, we had a number of swimming pools. And we staged the World Swimming Championships in 1990 and 1998. And it was in 1998, the World Swimming Championships, that we purchased a Myrtha pool from Myrtha, and I was given the responsibility for installing it. And Myrtha Pool sent out an installer, and it all seemed to work out, and that pool's still sitting there today. And we've gone on to refurbish some of those older concrete pools in the trust venues with Myrtha Renovation, and we'll go through one of those later on. I do remember you asking me, if I'd had any unusual experiences in in Australia, and I think I played this last time, but the question to that is we've installed a lot of remote community swimming pools for Aboriginal communities, and when I say remote, very remote, in the middle of the desert. So it's always an interesting exercise. There's no hardware shops within 50 kilometers. We had an interesting experience when this pool that we built in Balgo in 2019, a camel came wandering into the pool, and later chased out by a few dogs. And it's a little known fact that Australia has more camels than Saudi Arabia, and we actually export camels to the Middle East. Next slide. Certainly in Australia, the decision to renovate is taken through evaluation of the pool condition and other issues that may exist, some of which are displayed in the slide above. But normally an aquatic operator is looking to modernize their aquatic space by either replacing the pool with a new one or through renovation. In most cases, the aquatic operators engage with an industry professional, such as architects or consulting engineers, to determine the best way forward.
What is, if you don't mind me asking, Greg, what is the main difference between tiles and concrete and renovation? Because I think most of our guests here would like to know, how do we approach these problems offering a new technology? What is so different? Because many people say, well, a pool is a pool, but to refurbish an old concrete pool, I think that might be some difference in offering a technology like Myrtha.
Well, they're two very different systems. I mean, one relies on a watertight concrete shell and then functioning water stop seals within the construction joints, as this slide depicts. Definitely at Challenge Stadium, we experienced a number of problems with water stop seals. What a Myrtha pool offers is a modern finish and watertight solutions backed up by long warranties. Obviously, the Myrtha system is a fully encapsulating waterproofing system. It doesn't rely on water stop seals, caulking joints, tiles on the floor with numerous expansion joints. So it's not always easy, especially when renovating a concrete pool, to make sure it is watertight. We come across pools in Australia that might lose, and without exaggeration, 60,000 litres a day. And this is probably common throughout the world because during construction, quite often the water stop seal will get folded when the guys are pouring concrete, or it's perished in time. Just to carry on with this slide, generally what happens in Australia is engineers will assess the existing structure for leakage that may exist within the old pool structure, the concrete, balance tank or pipe work, along with the reasons for tile failure, which is one of the issues that we come across quite frequently. And then there's concrete cancer, settlement, etc. And that's just trying to determine, is it worth saving the concrete structure or building a new one or introducing Myrtha? In my experience with concrete pools, using HBF Stadium as an example, the choice was to go with Myrtha Renovation, and we'll show you this exercise later on. We renovated a 50-metre 10-lane and an 8-lane. Excuse me. Well, here you have common problems with concrete pools. Concrete cancer. This is in the back of air intakes at the back of a pool in Melbourne. Suffering a lot of concrete cancer within the gutters. And then to the left is your traditional concrete tile pools. So to demolish or even renovate in concrete results in long projects with extended closures of facility. Myrtha pool renovation can be done quickly, and I think Roberto covered that, and with less disruption to ongoing operations as demolition is minimal. And the Myrtha system is a clean system to work with. There's no tiles and tile adhesives, and yes, we use tiles sometimes on the pool edges. We use epoxies, we don't use the normal adhesives. So next slide. Well, this just shows you common problems which you're probably all aware of, and we don't have to point out. I mean, there are many successful concrete tile pools, but when they start going wrong, in my personal experience with HBF Stadium, when the indoor 50 and the dive pool started going wrong, they really went wrong. They were retiled and they've had issues with leakage since, which have never been repaired. So actually in Australia, we've experienced many tile failures in the last few years. So the specification for tiling has become a lot more onerous. Most tiling specifications now call for concrete shell membranes such as Laticrete or the membrane system from Mapei. Or in new concrete pools, a 4 to 6 month concrete resting period. There's discussion around shrinkage and tile failure, and then a blast clean before tiling. So this extends your build time significantly. In renovations, tiles are placed, and in new concrete pools, tiles are placed by specification in small runs, and then every 10th tile is pulled up to check for full embedment within the tile adhesive. More attention is given to adequate expansion joints within the tiles, along with a very strict ITP, inspection test plan, being followed that adds to projected timelines. In Australia, and I'm not sure if it's the same in the UK, but we also have a diminishing trade base, or a local diminishing trade base. There's very few young people want to work in the heavy or dirty trades. So we have tilers from China, Korea, Afghanistan, on short-term work visas. They are good tilers. There's nothing wrong with the work they do, but they do struggle in understanding what they're being asked to do. And ultimately, they don't take ownership of their work. Given they're on short-term visas, they return home within 6 months. I mean, this slide sort of speaks for itself, and I covered some of that off, but as mentioned earlier, major demolition is required. Certainly when attempting to rebuild old wet decks or convert scum gutter pools to wet deck with concrete, there's a need to tie in new concrete with old concrete structures, and their water tightness is difficult.
Sorry to jump in, Greg. This picture speaks for itself in the sense that sometimes it happens that the training center building is still in good conditions, while what has to be refurbished is just the tank. Therefore, a fit-for-purpose solution is really needed when you are updating just the tank and you are short of time, because the job site cannot last forever, especially during, pandemic or exceptional situations. For example, we have a couple of projects right now around UK where we have a limited amount of time, because with the COVID pandemic pressure, the job site needs to, be very, very, very short.
Yeah, no, that's right. It's and we come across that often. Sorry, next slide. So just as a cost comparison, and it's relatively rough, but this is a 50-meter pool in Australia, and the costs that we'll come across. So basically, building a new pool, refurbing a concrete and tiles pool, renovation, and that includes filtration. So in most cases, it's favorable to renovate rather than replace with a new pool. Again, it's the industry professionals that are engaged by the client to make the decision to renovate in traditional concrete and tiles or other systems available in the market. It is often the case that these industry professionals will make contact with Myrtha Pools to evaluate the Myrtha renovation system in terms of solutions that offer long-term fixes, speedy fixes, as Alessandro alluded to, additions of new pool configurations, modern finishes and accessories, longer warranties, and then they carry out their overall cost-benefit analysis. Next slide. So a concrete shell, as we see here, can quite easily be upgraded to a modern user-friendly Myrtha pool. Quite often the automatic reaction by councils is to demolish and build a new pool. As Myrtha renovation is not always known to them, but in Australia pretty much it is.
So this is a good point, sorry, Greg, because for example, for a lot of learn to swim or small pools which are like in Australia, but not only, even in UK now, there's a great number of pools which are in a limited space, like former warehouse or former training center. So you can save the concrete shell, so you don't need to completely, demolish the existing floor. And this is a great plus in terms of time and costs, isn't it?
Oh yeah, certainly. And I think coupled with the carbon footprint of a complete demolition and a new pool, it's not too environmentally friendly. And as earlier discussed, I mean, to renovating concrete and tiles may not involve or may not solve the ongoing issues of water leakage and or tiles failing in the near future. The Myrtha renovation is a good solution in this case. Sorry. Structural issues. Well, this picture shows obviously core sampling, just to check on concrete cancer. In Australia, we have many well-constructed concrete and tile swimming pools, and especially those dating back to the 1960s through to the 1980s, when tradesmen were perhaps a little more dedicated to their profession, and perhaps concrete quality was a little better then. I mean, certainly now with concrete additives, etc., concrete's not what it used to be, certainly not in Australia. The older concrete pool basins are more often than not in a stable condition, and other than severe leakage and failed internal finishes, they can be renewed, and they are in Australia. In my opinion, this is where the Myrtha Renovaction system offers the best outcome. What Myrtha Renovaction offers is a new swimming pool, modern finishes, stabilization of the old concrete shell as it's removed from the chlorides due to the waterproofing, along with long warranties. We warrant a Renovaction system the same as we warrant a new Myrtha pool. Next slide.
Okay, thank you, Greg. So what is Renovaction and how can it be used to transform an ageing pool? For those of you that came to the last presentation, we went through this section in quite some detail, but we thought for the purpose of today, we're just going to show you the technical assembly video, just to remind you of how the technology is used. And for those that are not familiar with it, we'll just give you a very brief view of exactly how a renovation is completed. So Renovaction consists of rails, stainless steel clamps, filling spacers, stainless steel panels, buttresses, overflow gutter, and a reinforced PVC membrane for the floor. The spacers and rails are fitted to the walls of the concrete structure, and then the panels slide into the rails. These are then bolted together and sealed. The gutter is then attached to the panel and fixed into place, and then the membrane floor is then placed into position and heat welded to the panels to form a watertight pool. So I'm going to show you the video so that you can see the component parts being fitted, and I'm hoping we've got a little bit of music that's going to sit behind this one, so shout if you can't hear it. Okay, comprehensive design. Again, we covered this last time, but thought it'd be a good idea to cover it again, especially for newcomers, so you're able to see what Myrtha can offer in terms of support for a project. Myrtha can supply a concept drawing and 3D if required for any type of project. This can be especially useful if you're planning a renovation which has adaptations being made to it. So for instance, you might want to change the depth of your pool or perhaps the length or shape, and in which case it's absolutely vital that you've got a really good design to ensure the success of this. So I'm just going to again play another short video that
Sorry, Kate, it's Alex here. Sorry for being a pain with a lot of questions, and I'm not commenting the music. Do not worry, but I personally don't like that too much. I don't know what the UK guests, being UK the capital of good music, I don't know what they think about it. But
we'll try and get it going again for later.
Before starting about the design, there is one thing I would like to say, which is it has been suggested that by Myrtha producing the design and concept 3D drawings for a project, that we are potentially taking away the role of the architects and engineers. So what's your opinion on that? Because after seeing these presentations, it looks to me as it looks like beneficial to have a strong relationship and collaboration with architects and engineers, and especially in these refurbishment projects. So what's your opinion, or Greg's opinion, on this? Because it seems it doesn't match the reality. I think technology like this needs a strong collaboration with local architects and engineer, not the opposite.
If I can jump in, I mean, certainly the case in Australia is we never undertake projects on our own. We've done probably out of the 120 installations, 2 or 3 little learn to swims where we've supplied them direct to a customer. We've still had to bring engineers in to certify. But in Australia, all projects involve aquatic specialists, be they architects, pool engineers, I mean, councils, etc. won't work without them. So we collaborate with them to reach a final design. What I like to say, we Myrtharize the architect's designs. Architects design the pools, and we Myrtharize copying the concrete design or whatever the architect wants. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. Yeah,
it does. And Myrtharize, which I didn't know as a verb, as an English verb before, but it's a good expression, because I've seen that in all the countries, 70 countries where we are selling, a good strong partnership with local architects and engineer, it means, you know, a good collaboration. So I don't know where this topic comes from, but it's absolutely far from reality. So we look and we hope to build strong relationship with local architects and engineers, because our technology needs it. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, well, I will show you the video. Apologies if there isn't any music, although probably all better off without it. But so you can see the kind of designs, etc., and how Myrtha can actually support you with any project. Okay, so once your project is nearly complete, you might want to add some accessories to it. So I'm just going to show you a few photos of some finished pools. Here we can see lane lines, which will be painted on the job site on the base of the pool. Target walls, if required, will be created in the factory on the panels so that they're there for when they're installed. You can add head walls, starting blocks, a boom if required, and of course competition lines. So any type of accessory that you really want to add can be placed into any completed renovation. Okay, I'm just going to click out of there, go back in here. So Myrtha is extremely concerned with the environment and providing products that meet low carbon emissions, efficiencies, and that are sustainable. We have credits with Green Star, LEED and BREEAM certification schemes, and you're very welcome to have copies of these if you would like to understand more on how we meet the criteria within these particular schemes. So please just drop me a note if you would like any of the things that you've seen today. Greg, I'm going to hand back to you for Mount Gambier.
Okay, yeah, so Mount Gambier is a 50-metre pool in South Australia. we're currently designing, and that pool should be shipped into Australia with a larger project overall. There's 5 pools going in, but we're renovating an old 50-meter pool. So actually on the left is the wet deck concrete profile for this particular pool. Probably I'd say it'd be a, I don't know the exact age, but it would be a 1980s, 1990s. On the right, just for reference, is the old style scum gutter sections that you find in the 1960s, 70s and early 80s. We renovate a lot of these. The next one is just shows you the wet deck renewal solutions. So Myrtha can generate a number of hybrid solutions for wet deck renewal. On the right is HBF Stadium, which I'll show you later. On the left is one that they commonly use in Korea, top left, and then bottom is a photo of an old concrete wet edge where the old tiles are cleaned off, maybe sawed so you get a nice finish. Myrtha sections can be placed over, and then renovation panels up the wall, sealed from there, and then into the gutter. So a total encapsulation of the old concrete pool. These are hybrid solutions that Myrtha can design for most pools. This shows the traditional scum gutter renovation, which we do a lot of. So you see on the left, you can see where we've cut off, you can see the little scallop point where we've cut off the old scum gutter. Down below there, Kate, just down the little teardrop in the concrete is part of the old scum gutter. And then we can regulate the depth, because I think this pool was 950 deep in the shallow end, and we had to convert to 1.35. And so we have the wet deck gutter, and then we have adjusting bolts, so we can fine adjust and also get a nice overflow over all the wet deck edges. And on the right, it's just another depiction of how it's done.
Greg, can I ask a question there?
Yep.
Yeah. Like this pool here, many of the pools needing refurbishment are pools that are length certified by FINA for competition. How do you ensure with the length of the pool, how do you ensure that the certified length is maintained when you use Renovaction?
So in fact, the Mount Gambier project that we're working on at the moment, that's required to be FINA length. So normally what we would do is, and I'll probably take you to the slide. So yeah, we've got the slide. So this is Mount Gambier. You can see we've done a detailed survey across the width and then on the length, and you may not be able to see the numbers, but so basically this is the first thing we do before we start drawing. We might send concepts in based on the architects. We're working with a company called Design Inc. in Adelaide, and we carry out the survey. In this case, we found this pool to be pretty accurate actually for an older pool, which was 50020. Obviously they weren't using touchpads in, but it was a little bit longer. So as this pool has to be FINA length, the builder will remove render on both end walls of the pool. Normally this will find us about 40 or 50 millimeters, which gives us sufficient space to fit the Myrtha Renovaction panels in. Worst case, and we haven't come across this often, is some light grinding of the concrete, normally on the end wall. And yeah, we can quite easily achieve FINA length.
Okay, thank you.
If I'm not wrong, Greg, there is a famous pool during the Olympic in Beijing, 2008 that probably not many people know, but it was a refurbished one, wasn't it? Used the Olympics game.
Yeah, the water polo pool next to the main bubble facility. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is the basic design of the Mount Gambier pool. So we've got increased water depth. We're using Myrtha Renovation to complete the new design, which includes wet deck gutters, change of depth in the shallow end to meet the current code of practice. So I don't know, in the UK, you probably have the same thing where the old shallow ends don't work. We normally go to about 1300, 1350, sometimes 1200. We're building in a new set of entry stairs, so we've taken out those funny old shaped stairs. This is an unusual one because normally we put an access ramp in as well with stairs. This all links standard Myrtha with Renovation, which is something quite common to us. And then we're converting the wall inlets to side inlets, wall inlets. This has got the old bottom inlets. And these have been modeled using Myrtha's computational fluid dynamics, where we can certify the flow and full coverage. So this is a new pool for all intents and purposes. Next slide. So we're going to look at the Cobar project in New South Wales. It was done in about 2009. So here we see the old scum gutter section on the left. And then on the right, a concrete saw has been used to cut through the top of that pediment or hob, which we will work towards putting the gutter. And here you can see the guys doing the saw cutting. Fairly easy exercise in Australia, and I'm sure it'll be the same in most countries. A lot of specialists that can cut horizontally, vertically, all kinds. So this is the final demolition, preparation for Myrtha Renovation. On the left, this wall has been scabbled back. This pool was not FINA length. They were quite happy with 50 meter and not FINA length. And then you can see to the right the old scum channel, which is open, will be filled with concrete and leveled to the right height to sit the Myrtha gutters atop, and then fine adjust to final depth. Now you see the Myrtha Renovation system in place on the head wall and the gutters, new gutter pipe work, and the side wall inlets have already been installed. We've also created a ramp access, you can see on this photo to the right. And then this is the completed pool. You can see the actual ramp to your left, new head walls, and then on the right is the leisure pool, which was also fully renovated in Myrtha. Another project is where I used to work, HBF Stadium. It was then Challenge Stadium. So, of the 4 concrete pools in this venue, 2 were converted to Myrtha Renovation in 2008. The other 2, which are still concrete tile pools, have been retiled a few times since 1986. And biggest problem was leakage through the water stop seals. We were losing a huge amount of water through these pools. Construction joints were an ongoing problem with the outdoor 8 and 10 lane until they were, use the word again, Myrthaized. So the slide here shows Commercial Aquatics, one of our bigger distributors, opening up the center channel. We didn't put sidewall inlets in this pool. Their budget was limited. Huge issues were found with the pipework. Some of the PVC hadn't even been joined. So yeah, leaking pipes are often an issue and hard to get to And that's why we tend to go with the sidewall inlets. Day 16, now you can see the recessed steps going in. This is the older style recessed steps. And the renovated walls, stainless steel with PVC laminated.
Sorry to jump in, Greg, because this was probably not only one of my favorite renovation done around the world, but probably for our guests here, one of the biggest plus that Myrtha can offer. These pictures show an integration of Myrtha new technology with renovation panels. So a kind of hybrid in which you can combine both technical solution. So you have a part of the pool which is brand new, so with buttresses and new gutter, and the rest of the pool in which you keep the old concrete structural walls, and you apply the renovation panels. I think it's a tailor-made solution which can offer a great service considering the existing conditions. So I'm saying this because sometimes when you have a initial early stages discussion, so having also this chance to integrate both technology is a great plus.
Oh yeah, so it's we commonly do this, not extending 50-meter competition pools, but certainly when we do ramps, as Roberto explained earlier, we can get an old 50-meter pool and we can turn it into multiple leisure pools. We've done that once before. Yeah, so it's great that we can combine the standard Myrtha system with the renovation system, as we did in this venue. And here we are, day 49. We've fully waterproofed the 50-meter pool. Guys are just finishing off all the lane lines with a mosaic target system. As you know, we've converted to I prefer to call it a sort of an inking lane marking system, which is very effective. And then this is day 60, where the pool was basically almost ready for use, and here we are dropping the new movable boom into position. So yeah, 60 days start to finish. I'll hand back to Kate.
Okay, so we've got some fun facts for you. So that 50-meter pool was achieved in 8 weeks, which is an amazing accomplishment for the team to do all that work and complete from start to finish in 8 weeks. Water tightness is guaranteed by the fully encapsulating membrane system, and the result of that makes it environmentally friendly. So you've got no more wasted water, it's less to heat and less chemical usage within your pool. The original concrete structure is now protected from further degradation, and a full Myrtha renovation can offer a modernised pool upgraded to current regulations, beautiful modern finishes and fabulous accessories. And if I click through to the next slide, you can see some cut throughs of some finished pools which have been completely Myrthaized. You can see the membrane on the floor, and also the membrane has been used to create the deck area and the surround. Accessories have been added over here, the lane lines have been put in. It's got a very attractive finish to it as well. So the new Myrtha warranty is 10 years on waterproofing and 25 years on structure. And again, here's the same pool, but you can see where various accessories have been added. So we've got a water gym here, and this area has been completely remodeled to make a kids splash park pad area with lots of splash toys, etc., to attract the younger ones. Okay, so the video I'm about to play you is a time-lapse video. It's the Blaney Aquatic Centre in New South Wales, Australia. The pools were originally built in the late 1960s and then renovated again in 2019 using Myrtha renovation system. All the works were designed by a Sydney-based architects and consulting engineers. So this video is going to show you, and apologies if there's no music, but this video is going to show you from start to finish how the project was accomplished, along with the changing rooms and the showers. So, hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for listening. We have got a couple of minutes left, so I'm not sure. Lani's been managing our chat for us. If there's any particular questions, Lani, that have come up in the chat that we could perhaps answer now. Anything else, as I said before, we will circulate in a full Q&A brochure along with drawings and diagrams, etc., for full explanation. So, Lani?
Yeah, we have one question in the chat for Greg. Greg covered the advantages of Myrtha pools over concrete pools, and what are the advantages of Myrtha pools over maybe the other types of pools, let's say, I assume welded steel and the other technologies?
Look, I'd have to admit to not knowing too much about the other technologies. I know in New Zealand the Tyre system is being used. Certainly in Australia, that system struggles in terms of codes of practice because it's not a true wet deck. And when they do go to attempt to do wet decks, they change their system because their system is generally a hybrid. Sorry, Alessandro, do you want to?
No, I was just saying that you showed the advantages because this is a webinar focused and tailor-made for refurbishing. I'm not sure how other let's call it alternative technologies can offer the same system, in the sense that this is renovation technology, which is a copyright by Myrtha, is a technology which is fit for purpose for old concrete pools, not only, but this specific webinar. So if we have to organize another, and I'm happy to do that, a webinar focused on Myrtha versus Natari or Fluidra or other technologies, I'll be happy. But just to answer our guest question, is just because we were focusing on renovation technology. So our goal was to show you how to update an old existing pool. But it's a good tip, and probably we should organize another webinar in showing, for example, in New Zealand, I have to admit that Natari is pretty strong. Although I've got my personal opinions on their technology, which is not part of this, but I'll be happy to organize another webinar on this specific topic. I've seen that Mr. Nick Bryant raised his hand probably 45 minutes ago, and we I don't know if he's got still a question.
May I intervene just 1 second about this
sorry,
topic?
Sorry, that was a mistake. I didn't mean to raise my hand.
Okay. Yes, Cinzia, please.
No, I just wanted to remember that Myrtha and Renovation as well, we offer guarantees and warranty for the waterproofing, which I don't think other competitor does, or not, at least not as long as we do. So when you choose Myrtha and you choose Renovation, you are essentially building a new pool.
Yeah, correct.
While other competitors, they don't, and they have different ways of waterproofing the pool and connecting the panels. Like they usually they weld steel on site, while we'll only use liquid PVC, so we don't weld anything on site. So even if it's a high-rise pool, it's easier to do all the labor. But especially I think the greatest advantage is the warranties.
Yes, correct. I've seen that.
Okay, and then do we want to tackle one more question? Maybe Paul's question on how deep we can go with the wall panels or the liner and doing a dive pool.
Well, yeah, we've done one in Australia, the South Australian Aquatic Centre, where we were originally asked to go to 4-metre panels in the dive well area. In the end, we can go to 4. In the end, we used 3-metre deep panels, and we take from that point the concrete dive well is formed, and we bring membrane up because the weight of the water is huge in that area, so it keeps the floor membrane secure against the walls, and we bring the membrane up and weld it to the front of the 3-metre panels. I see a message came up from PC, 4.8 metres for the movable floor, but in Australia, the deepest we've ever used is 3 metres. But I know with Metro in Christchurch, we were looking at 5-metre panels. I'm not in that project anymore.
Okay.
I've seen that somebody wrote about refurbishing old existing Myrtha pools. And yeah, of course, there are, even, for example, in UK, I might be wrong, but there are something like 180 existing Myrtha pools. Some of these are pretty old. Some of these might need a renovation. And of course, a collaboration with architects and local engineers is more than welcome. Just to give you some numbers, in Australia and New Zealand, we're going to reach 110 in Australia soon, and 120 in New Zealand. So, and all these pools need to be refurbished as well. So, and in the meantime, our company is investing in new technology as well. Therefore, a Myrtha pool which has been built 20 years ago might be updated with the same technology, but with different materials. This is also something to take in consideration. Just for giving you I don't think I will reveal a secret, but very soon there'll be the University of East Anglia, which is a pool which has been built 20 years ago, is going to be refurbished after 21 years ago. So, but there are plenty of ongoing refurbishments of old existing Myrtha pools together with old concrete pools. So, and one of the goals of this webinar was really to show to the community, to the stakeholders, that Myrtha is not just its temporary pools, its new pools, but it's also a great alliance for you guys when you have a discussion with local councils, with local pool operators, and when you want to tackle these kind of discussions. So please be aware that we are with you and we can offer you a great support on that. And I'll shut up now because I'm talking too much as always. Sorry.
And we're a little bit over the time, but I know we just had one last question. Maybe Kate, if we can touch on this. The last image that was shown, if it was a defender filter, maybe this one we can look into and pass the information on after. But other than that, I think that's That's all the questions from the chat.
Yes, it
So,
was
yeah,
a defender filter that was shown in the video. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, thank you all very, very much. Appreciate we just run over slightly. Any other questions, please send them to me directly, and in which case we will then get some answers to you, and if drawings are necessary. Otherwise, our full Q&A will be circulated in probably a few days' time once we've just formulated that. The video will be placed on YouTube, Lani, on
on the Myrtha Pools channel.
So you'll be able to come back and look at any points that you want to revisit at any time. But thank you guys, it's been great to see you all again, and ciao for now.
Thank you.
Bye everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.